maybe I'll take up Zyn.
We can also just do a delay tax thing maneuver if we need to.
You still have to file for a delay.
Yes, you have to. But I also many years never did anything like that. Did I tell you about the time when my taxes I couldn't believe I had to put all my taxes, bust my rear, and I'd lived in 8 different places. I had a couple different jobs. This is when I was 30, so I was older. And anyway, so and I finally got around to what my refund was going to be, and I owed $300. So I just stopped doing the official tax thing. Just did the worksheet, put all the stuff that I thought was pertinent in an envelope and sent to the IRS with a big tone of F you. And they got back to me, and I had my own IRS caseworker walk me through how I needed to pay them $2,000. Oh, that's a suck feeling. Oh, that killed me.
All of that to say, and I had a lovely conversation on Twitter with one of our listeners today who was essentially saying that my numbers were wrong about saying that most people don't have money in the stock market, and everyone who has a 401k has money in the stock market, and to see it lose that kind of money. And he was saying he lost $250,000. I saw some of you in the chat were saying your net worth has gone down huge amounts. Dave Portnoy was out here talking about how he's lost $20 million over the last 3 days in net worth. That is true. And that's real money, and that impact is real. And I was on a work call, and a bunch of people were well, yeah, I'm spending less money right now. But my day-to-day personally has not been affected by the stock market. I have to talk, because I'm in the Tom Shattuck.
Unless a big indicator of a tariff stock market plunge are Doritos, which they might be. By the way, I noticed that you have. I noticed that it only took 4 seconds because I had much more to say. But you have stolen the ball and now running down the field. So go right ahead. I was going to talk about your snaggletooth and pistachios, but let's get right to the show.
Because but I think that this is very relevant, and I think it has a lot to do with the whole confusion over why the media can't figure out why Trump's approval isn't dropping further with the stock market crashing, right? And yes, this is true. This is impacting people's real retirements and real money and real investments, and that's true stuff. And if you are using that to draw down on for income right now, then you are definitely impacted. That is a true thing. It is also a true thing that is much less than half of Americans. Fewer than half of Americans have any retirement savings at all. At all. And the median retirement savings, even when you get up into your 50s, close to 60 years old, when you're going to retire, the median amount saved in retirement accounts is $20,000. It's not a big amount of money. So I'm not trying to at all, by the way, denigrate those of you who have big amounts of money in retirement accounts, because that shows that you've made good life choices, much more so than the Shaddocks who are fending off the IRS or whatever else they're doing. And
NVIDIA took a beating, Alice.
Oh, yeah? I'm not trying to denigrate that at all. But I think that it's easy to forget, too, if you're surrounded by other people who have big amounts in your 401ks and are shocked by the stock market. I think it's easy to forget that for large numbers of Americans, the stock market is just a fake number on the newscast and it has no bearing on their day-to-day lives.
Well, right. I mean,
obviously, if this continues, the layoffs will come, things will happen, it will be real for more people. And I don't know if we'll be able to avoid a recession or not at this point. I don't think most people in the United States are feeling this yet, I guess is my point. No matter what the news says, no matter what, the people who live around you who all have big 401ks say, that's not the median American's experience of the stock market.
That's what you're saying, and I mean, all I all I've been hearing. It's only anecdotal. So, but you said you've looked into the numbers. I've just been hearing from friends of how much money they've lost. I have one guy say he lost $100,000.
Yeah, but we live around people who have 401ks.
Well, I understand that. I understand that. So, but people feel compelled to make it a conversation piece.
Mm-hmm.
So it's at least that. Maybe it's just a vanity project. Maybe these people aren't.
I'm not saying it's a vanity project. People are losing real net worth right now.
Mm-hmm.
Like the stock market is real money to people, right? And people put their retirement in there, and people are living off that.
Right.
So that's a real thing. But I guess my point about it is that the demographic that has that already skews very heavily left-leaning. They're the type of people who were at the hands-off protests.
Right.
Generally. And I mean, I know there are those of you who are obviously our listeners who have the same thing and are in that demographic and have money in the stock market and all of that. So clearly it exists, but I'm saying that demographic skews towards the left. And one of the things we saw with Trump, particularly in this last election and particularly in Iowa with the Ann Seltzer poll, if you remember,
that was the outlier.
Right. That was that big outlier poll that showed Trump doing very, very badly. And part of the reason that she showed Trump doing very, very badly is that she oversampled older people. And in her point of view, if Trump was doing that badly with older people, essentially was the assumption that she baked into her numbers. If he was doing that badly with older people, then he must be losing the state. Part of what was interesting about this last election, and like even into what we talked about yesterday about how we're in the middle of this party switch, is that we also in this last election, it's not just a switch between people who were traditionally liberals and traditionally conservatives, like wealthier people and Romneys versus, like working class steel workers or whatever. It's not just that switch. It's also an age switch. Right? Is that we've also seen a big demographic shift in the type of people. You know, it used to be, do you remember the quote? I don't even know whose it was, but like anyone who's under 30 and
the Republican
is a Republican has no heart, and anyone who's over 30 and is a liberal has no brain. Mm-hmm. That's the quote, right? And it used to be that people started off more liberal, younger, and got conservative as they got older.
Oh, yes, of course. From life experiences, yes. Because you're when you're young, you're a romantic and, feelings and intentions and compassion and these those romantic feelings. We all start off as girls, essentially, at least in this country.
I mean, sure. But what we saw in this last election with Trump is not just a switch between the types of socioeconomic voters who were voting for Republicans or Democrats. What we saw in this last election was a type in the age of voters who were voting for Republicans and Democrats. It's still overall, Trump still lost Gen Z voters, but with young men in particular, the shift in young voters towards the right has been astonishing to observers. And if you look at these protests, these hands-off protests over the last few days, the hands-off protests, and I know this got said on Twitter a lot, like over the weekend and everything, but we've had time now. So many photos have filtered in. It's been in news stories. It's been in newscasts. It's been on Facebook. It's been on Twitter. I challenge you to find me a photo of these protests that does not look like a retirement home party.
It looks very old. Very old. I've never quite seen a gathering other than if Antiques Roadshow was.
I know, but it's very bizarre. Yeah. It's not like the summer of 2020. It's definitely not like the Pussy Hat Women's March protest back in 2017.
Although that said, Alice, every person at these rallies over the weekend will vote. Unlike Occupy Wall Street, where half of those kids didn't vote. That's
part of the problem for Republicans and why Trump is probably, not Trump per se, but Republicans will do badly in the midterms probably, is because they've traded high propensity voters, which is all the old people. They will show up at every freaking election, town meeting, planning board, whatever thing. They will come to everything. And Republicans have traded those for the youth vote who watches Rogan but doesn't know what a planning board is, which is like, that's fine.
Who will also come out and vote for Trump, but not necessarily
for
on an off
their
year.
local congressman.
No, who's about to get massacred, possibly.
Right.
Hey, just a little perspective here about where the stock market is.
Mm-hmm.
Just before we went off the cliff for COVID, on this is February 12th, 2020, stock market was at 29,551. 29,551. COVID hits, it goes way down to 19,000. Then it climbs out of that. Biden had a few dips, actually. One of Biden's dips, it went up to 36 at one point under Biden. And then after the Biden recession kicks in, or the Biden inflation goes down from 36 to 29. This is Biden. This is just 3 years ago. At one point with Biden, it went up and then dipped down to 33. It is now at 41. So,
well, it's isn't it not at 38? Are we talking about the Dow?
Talking about the Dow.
Thought it ended today at like 37, 38.
Okay. That's the last bit here. So yes, 38. Still, it has only been. It only got beyond 37 in December of 2023.
Right.
So I'm just saying, yes, indeed, those 401ks, the number is down. But if you look at the scale, if you go down from, I just did a 10-year look, because a 5-year look is fake because...
It's what it was a year and a half ago, essentially.
That's
Less
exactly
than
right.
a year and a half
Exactly
ago.
right. The 5-year look doesn't work because it looks great because that was COVID. But so that's where we are.
But yeah, I mean, but your statement from your 401k said that other number a couple months ago, and now it doesn't say that number. So,
Yeah.
I mean, that
And I
that
think
feels real.
And the
you know?
other thing about it is, this is such a ballsy and gutsy thing to do. Is that, yes, this might be a move to ultimately. I mean, this is such it's an anti-political maneuver, because the thing to do is.
No, this is not something that's designed to make voters happy.
Right. The thing to do is leave trade alone, continue to run up the deficit, but so that it's still tenable, and hope to God you make it your 4 or 8 years out, with the company being solvent enough so you don't have to take any austerity, whatever, and don't have to tax the bejesus out of the middle class. Hopefully it doesn't happen on your watch. And that's what we have been doing. The last 4 presidents have been doing it.
Well,
but the only thing that makes this different than Trump is this is pushing the throttle forward, ostensibly running the plane into the ground for a better thing. It reminds me of something that you've probably seen happen. So my brother Jimmy's just a clever guy. He's got an engineering mind, and he came up with this thing that he does. Now we've got a boat, like a 25-foot boat or whatever it is. It's a 75 horsepower fishing boat. You can water ski, whatever. It's an old boat now. So, water gets in the boat no matter what. It's going to happen. Water gets in the boat. If you have a boat, water splashes around. It gets in the boat, and it gets in places sometimes where a some pump can't get it out. The pump can't get all the water out. So, what my brother devised is this way to get it out is by jumping into the water and pulling the plug out of the bottom of the boat. So you pull the plug out of the bottom of the boat. Have you seen him do this? So every boat has a plug. You pull the plug out ideally, when you're on land, you pull the plug and all the water drains out. But all the water wasn't draining out. It had to be forced out. So what he did was he pulls the plug out of the boat. So while you pull the plug out of the boat begins taking on water. Obviously, the sinking process has been initiated. So what he came up with, though, is you pull the plug out of the boat, and then he jumps back in the boat, even though the boat is now sinking, technically. I'm sure he didn't tell me this the first time we were doing it. And then he guns the boat and hits an angle. So he's doing a loop, a furiously quick loop, hits an angle so that the boat, is this centrifugal force? Is that what this is? The boat, with all the G's, whatever, pushing against the back of the boat forces the water out of the hole, which is now above the water line because the boat is running high because it is gunned now. It's and he does that till all the water goes out of the boat, and then he drives it right up into the trailer and right out of the water, and water problem is done. Which is kind of the model for what the idea is here. Is that, yes, you're going to do something that immediately in the short term is painful and possibly devastating, but in the long term, it saves you.
Yeah.
And completely and fixes the long-term problem of water sitting in the boat. But it is such a ballsy thing that this guy is doing something like this.
Well, and I've read a lot about people talking about essentially how much more of this is.
Do your daughter to bring you a coffee?
Yeah, if she does she know how to make a coffee? The way I like my coffee, I don't know. I think more of this is focused on China than it looks like at first blush, right? And I think some of that's becoming clear as like more countries are going, we want to negotiate and blah, blah, blah. And I think Trump keeps signaling like, no, we're not negotiating.
Right.
And largely that's because China hasn't blinked yet. And China keeps like pushing the bigger tariffs and is trying to fight back. And I think that's because China like knows that they're cooked if they lose this one. Do you know what I mean?
Yep.
This is so important for them, and it's so important for us to make sure. And we talked about this a bit about how I was really radicalized on the trade stuff by COVID, that I don't necessarily think that trade deficits in general are a bad thing or whatever. Countries do different things better than others, and stuff's imported from all over the world to make every single thing. It's fascinating and interesting, and I don't think it's a system we should mess with unless we have a very good reason. I do think that COVID revealed that with China, we may have a very good reason to manufacture, especially very important things here.
Yes.
And I know you were talking a bit about the Jones Act stuff and some of this shipping, and one of the things people were complaining about that's one of the most, how they were framing it, ridiculous things about all these tariffs and everything is requiring, whatever number of ships be built, not only built in the United States, but crewed by Americans, and how that's so insane because like to have ships that are built in the United States and crewed by Americans is like way prohibitively expensive in this day and age. We only have a few ships that are container ships. They're much smaller than the Chinese ones, all this stuff. And as I was reading this, and I saw some other people commenting this as well, essentially saying, like, how are we not viewing this as the government trying to ramp us up into a military readiness posture for China? And
totally.
really,
Well,
I
isn't that
think
when he
that
said,
I really think this is a big, big factor.
Isn't that how they're selling it, though, as a defense thing?
Well, partially, but Trump talks a lot of bleep on trade, right? And they're, winning over us and all this stuff, and they're getting money from us and we're not getting money from them, and blah, 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 blah. But I don't think at the end of the day, the most important piece of this is ultimately trade. I do think a part of it is that we have been incapable of doing our own defense for a very long time. And the situation has been getting worse in recent years. I think we are in a bad position with regard to China. I think we're in a bad position even with regard to like Russia, where we've been dumping all this money and weaponry into Ukraine, and people keep being like, oh, well, we'll have to manufacture new stuff to replace it. So it's like good for us, actually. Have you heard that argument about Ukraine?
Of course.
Sorry, this light is being flaky, but So I definitely think that there's an argument to be made here that this isn't necessarily about trade per se, as much as it's about, readiness and like being on a war footing, literally, with China. We can't, if China decides to go to war with us and cause a problem with Taiwan or whatever, like we are effed.
Yes.
We can't manufacture our own stuff. We can't import the stuff from China.
Well, I heard the guys in commentary say this as well. what if China, even since they've stolen the IP anyway, just decides to duplicate all our products, creates a pact with the other Asian countries, and just forces us out of the trading process?
Yeah, I mean, it's really complex, and I don't think anybody necessarily knows what comes next per se, but I think that this outrage over like the stock market and 401ks is misplaced in the sense that I don't think a lot of Trump voters care about it. Some obviously do. Like a bunch of Trump voters have 401ks like other people do. Some percent of those are at or near retirement, and it's actually a worry for them, and it's concerning. So I'm not trying to minimize that, but I also think that there's been a shift going on, and that the shift has been between wealthy boomers not being Republicans anymore into, we now have Gen X, and then even more so millennials and Gen Z, who have kind of been saying the boomers screwed us, and they keep accumulating wealth and sitting on all this wealth, and they are not giving it up, right? And they are not willing to make any sacrifice for like the next generation, whether it's in terms of housing or the stock market or whatever. And I think that this is like what the All In podcast talks about when they talk about how people need to be more invested in the market, because that's invested in American success. People need to be able to feel like they can buy a house in their country, like they can have a job in their country. And, there's a lot of memes going around about like, well, people don't really want to work factory jobs. And
yeah, it's a lot of fun things about showing Americans like downtrodden working in the factory.
Right. Which that is a thing. But I also think factory work in the future isn't going to look like the factory work of the past. I think there's going to be a lot more automation, a lot more AI, and things are going to be very, very different from what we envision. And if this ushers in like an AI revolution, then that's going to be a whole different beast going forward into the future. It's obviously not going to happen without automating. There's no way we're going to be able to compete. But this stuff's also coming, like you're not going to be able to stop it.
Yeah, I talked to somebody about that, exactly what you had said today. And he agreed. This is a guy from New Haven University. He agreed that the AI thing was coming. He agreed also that like there's no jobs with Americans using sewing machines that are coming back.
Yeah, no,
it's just not going to be the same. And also, look, I don't think that we accurately tell the story of factory towns that closed down, the factory shuttered 20, 30 years ago. It's like most people who worked in those factories did not just immediately die of despair.
They went on to go do something else.
Exactly. And go do something else and adapt. And a lot of them, did quite well. I had a bunch of calls today from people talking about, waxing on about how great it was back then, the family atmosphere and the bennies. Because when you've got a company that's
pensions.
Well, the pensions, but also there's when you've got a company where you can retain so many people, it's the company in the town. Then you've got generations of people working there. The HR guy is the guy who works in a loading dock. His sister's married to his brother, and they're like, it's familial,
right?
And so like that's gone, and that's just part of life. That's how it has to be. And now, like I work in a very corporate place. It's funny because I work in a corporate place because I work for Odyssey, which is owned by a bunch of people around the world, I guess. And so corporate-wise, it is cold too. But the remnants of it, when it was just a little CBS station, there's still a family atmosphere, and they've managed to hide it from the dark eye of Soros. That like Soros. Oh, so I did it on purpose.
Oh, I see. Okay.
But yeah, so like part of that will be back. There's no doubt about that. But some of it, the world has changed. We communicate in different ways, so, but I do think that sometimes we...
Well, and like we talked about revealed preferences, right? Like
Yes.
people say they want certain things, but very few people actually make these decisions, like to have a mom who could be working stay home with their kids and to take a sacrifice in terms of what type of town they live in and what kind of house they have and how many sports their kids do and stuff like that. Like very few people actually make that choice to do that. And that gets at revealed preferences. There are very cheap houses in a lot of these abandoned factory towns. There are jobs that offer remote work. This stuff is out there.
Yes.
People could do that. We could go live in northern Vermont and work remotely from there if we wanted to. Could we not?
We could.
And like we choose not to do that. And there are reasons for that are like preference reasons that people have that maybe people didn't have a generation or two ago. And I'm not saying whether that's like right or wrong, but I think that a lot of people are making very similar decisions, and it doesn't have to do with... I saw a big argument about this on Twitter actually today, and some of the people were saying, like, maybe that's just how it is. Like, when we used to have a logging industry somewhere, or like in the case of Hardwick, a granite industry, and all this industry was there, and people had to live next to it because you couldn't do that job remotely, obviously, to quarry the granite, and you needed a certain number
Yes.
of people to do it. It wasn't automated. So people had to live there to do that. And like now they don't have to live there to have those jobs, and there's many fewer jobs in those industries, and so like people move away to do something else.
Right.
There's not a reason to necessarily to have that be if you don't need those people in that industry anymore. And while it's like sad and you want it to go on forever and have the stuff, there's also like a nostalgia about not really having to do it. Like I'm glad I don't work in a granite quarry too at the same
yes.
time. Like I don't want to do that. So, people have made choices that lead us to the place where we are today. And it's not going to go back to how it was, although it can go into a future that maybe has some advantages over the way that things are now.
I want to get to something that's related to this.
Mm-hmm. See Elon Musk using the R word about the Trump administration.
Well, that's what I want to talk about.
He's not a fan of the administration's tariffs, I will tell you that.
He's in PM and Peter Navarro are going back and forth. And Carolyn Levitt gave what I consider the best ever answer on this.
Mm-hmm.
Because the media loves this, because Navarro is Trump's guy, insider, big MAGA guy, went to jail for him.
Mm-hmm.
And Musk is Trump's best bud now. His BFF. So this creates a conflict between these two guys. And that's a real rift in the administration. And the kind of thing...
This is a civil war in the administration.
The kind of thing that the media lives for is this kind of thing. And Caroline Levitt addressed this absolutely perfectly, remembering and knowing why Trump voters love Trump. This is freaking perfect.
These are obviously two individuals who have very different views on trade and on tariffs. Boys will be boys, and we will let their public sparring continue. And you guys should all be very grateful that we have the most transparent administration in history. And I think it also speaks to the president's willingness to hear from all sides, that he has people at the highest levels of this government in this White House who have very diverse opinions on very diverse issues, but the president takes all opinions and
I think that is a perfect answer.
Mm-hmm.
Imagine that. Boys will be boys. It's so freaking un-Washington, D.C. It's so freaking real.
Mm-hmm.
And it makes sense. Yeah, we do real stuff in here. And the real people fight each other. And, obviously, Trump probably thinks that's great. He's got the richest man in the world. Got the rocket man, Elon Musk, fighting with his loyalist. I think that is just fantastic. And what is different this time around than last time around is this is an administration that's occupied, that's staffed with the true believers. And so they're all on board. They all see the vision, and that is a great, great answer. And they're changing. What Trump is doing now, he's not just changing, the where we are in world trade and whatever, and we'll see where that goes. But he is changing standard operating procedure for American politics.
I would say that's
and
true.
in many ways, in some ways, not for the best. Like if you go, Alice showed me Idiocracy over this weekend. I'm not saying the Trump administration is idiocracy, but there's much more ego, childish outbursts. You know, Trump and his crew, being how they are, has, and winning, has now made every Democrat into a Trump wannabe. So they throw F words around here and there, and they're trying to be somebody because they see that it's in vogue. They can't do it like the Trump people can, but they're trying. But he has made also this level of transparency is just absolutely incredible. And it's also made doublespeak, or people who speak like Mitt Romney, obsolete. It's so, because it was only a matter of, suck down more coffee, Alice. I'm afraid you're going to keel over right
I'm
here.
so
You
tired
look so
right
pretty,
now.
though.
I'm so tired right now.
Do you want me to get into the pistachios in your tooth?
What are you talking about?
So, I've always been a fan of your snaggle teeth. I've always loved it. Didn't need that noise, I don't think. But I will be marking the tape here, as a matter of fact. Wow. I've always been a fan. I think it comes from possibly... Okay. You're on video, Alice. Just remove your hand so we can see the snaggles. I have been a big...
Sorry.
Whether it started...
down the wrong pipe when you said
I'm a
my
fan of snaggle teeth. I think
when I was sipping coffee.
I think they're the most
went down
attractive
the
thing in the
wrong
world
pipe.
for women. And Claudia Schiffer has them,
I
and
hate
Jewel
them.
has them.
Can't wait to get my teeth fixed.
No, you're never getting those fixed.
Yes.
No, you're not.
When you're dead,
no,
I'm
not.
getting my
There's a
teeth
lot if we
fixed.
get money that we're gonna fix about you, but the snaggles go nowhere. I love them, and so and who was the girl? The girl who was on Firefly.
Jewel State.
Oh, yes, all-time snaggletooth. The snaggletooth I am all about, every day, all day. As a matter of fact, Alice, you've made snaggletooth so attractive to me that when I see women who have been arrested for like murdering their husbands or sleeping with their students and they have snaggleteeth, I'm like way more into them than usual. But I also thought today, while I was eating pistachios, I ate an entire bowl, case, whatever it's called, a plastic market basket
Like a little
container of pistachios.
Pint container or whatever.
Right.
It is.
You would say little, but there were at least 600 pistachios in there. And a couple things I
Glad
noticed.
I hadn't started my sip yet.
I noticed
would've
that a
choked
couple
again.
things were happening. Is that one is that pistachios are much better these days than they used to be because there are very few that are just totally fused shut.
Mm-hmm.
And at the same time, some of them that are 3/4 fused are tough to get in, but I managed to, like, most of them get in. Some I had to throw away. But
My dad taught me a trick for that.
well, hold on. This is important.
Okay.
No, I want to hear your thing. It occurred to me that your absolutely cute snaggle teeth, maybe you were made to break open nuts. Yeah, like pistachios.
think
Maybe
so.
that's what they're for. Maybe this is genetics, evolution.
No, the reason why people don't have straight teeth nowadays in modern times is because the size of your teeth is genetic. They form in the womb before you're born. Like your teeth are formed inside your mouth at whatever size they're going to form at genetically. And your jaw size is not genetic. It's nurture, not nature. And modern human beings have underdeveloped jaws because we're not like gnawing bones like cavemen and eating little nuts and stuff. So, I mean, I guess in that sense, but you know, jaw size used to, and especially babies and infants, we do not give them anymore anything that's a choking hazard. So we don't feed babies like nuts and steak and things like that. You know, we're feeding them all mashed up food and their jaw never develops properly. And so modern people all have an underdeveloped jaw compared to our teeth size, which is why everybody like needs braces. Like we're not meant to all have crooked teeth. That's not something that we're
Leave it
supposed
to the
have.
beautiful Alice K. Shattuck to take my whimsical observation about pistachios and her snaggletooth into an AP course on the jaw
No,
development.
I love this. I'm really fascinated by it.
Oh,
It's
you've had
something
coffee,
I'm
too.
excited about.
Whoa, you thought about this. Nobody really asked why we still have crooked teeth.
Well, you asked why I have snaggles. You said maybe I'm meant to open nuts.
I think you probably are, Alice.
No.
Yes, we're going to get on a road trip.
No, my jaw's just underdeveloped. I need to do jaw exercises. I'm serious.
2 jaw exercises. We've got a long, like,
But
11
it
hour
helps more if you do it
drive
as a
Thursday.
kid.
Okay. No, I want you to do them. I think actually it might be a good YouTube series for you. Cocky,
No, like stuff like-
go.
Like you're supposed to, but it has to do with your airways too. That's why you get humans aren't supposed to have sleep apnea either. That's why you have sleep apnea, because your jaw's not developed right and you sleep without your throat open.
Maybe
Because you're stupid.
no. Maybe I sleep with my throat open because the Shattuck men have married psychotic wives and know at any moment they could be sprawled over them with an ice pick. Maybe I know I need to be up every 11 seconds with you around. I love your snaggletooth. Your sisters don't have snaggle teeth. Your brothers don't have snaggle teeth. Well.
My jaw's just underdeveloped.
Oh, really? Because they also grew up in Lexington, Massachusetts, and there's no snaggle teeth amongst them.
Maybe they wore their retainers. No.
You absolutely wore your retainer every damn second. You liked it, too. You liked it. That's this again? Whoa. All right. So you're lovely looking, Alice. That's the point. Okay. Drink some more of your coffee. What's the chat say? I'm going to do the
Splash
chat.
says he likes girls with uneven eyes.
Oh, is that you? Do you have that?
I don't know.
So I used to be a huge Shannon Doherty guy, and people said that she had that uneven eyes.
He says there's a great jaw exercise you can involve Tom and both work out. Mark in the chat says he doesn't see my snaggle teeth. Thank you, Mark. Mark also said the protesters look like an alfresco AARP meeting.
Oh, yeah, my goodness. You know what alfresco means in that scenario?
Outside?
I think he means naked.
No, alfresco means outside.
I know it means in the dining.
I don't think he means naked.
I think he means naked. I think in dining he
Why
means
would
outside.
he mean? When does alfresco ever
Because he
mean
listens
naked?
to Howie.
Does alfresco
The
ever
reason I
mean
bring this
naked?
up, Alice, is that I found a picture of you and I in Washington, D.C., and you're smiling. You had bangs back then, and your great little snaggles are right there. And I thought, this is great. I will tweet out that picture today so you guys can see her snaggle teeth. Oh, why would you hide that? It's lovely. People pay for that, dude.
Ew, people do not try and have snaggle teeth.
Yes, they do.
Ugh.
This is Trump tweeted this 5 hours ago. This is a little bit different when we talk about, the way people communicate with each other.
Mm-hmm.
It's a little bit different. And Trump reshaping how politics, the etiquette of politics and the standard
Mark
opposite.
says he means outside and not naked.
Oh, really? Okay. Howie means outside. I'm naked.
He says he doesn't listen to Howie.
Okay. I've started to again. It's good. There's a lot of commercials. So this is the thing. I go to, but then when Howie's not on, I hit the thing too. When the commercials are on, I go to NPR, and it's just begging for money. It's amazing. So this is Trump. This is what I mean about having changed the culture of politics and the standard operating procedure. This is the president of the United States who Truth Socialed this out.
Okay.
You know why it's called Truth Social?
Because it has freedom of speech and like the other platforms.
No, it's called Truth Social because it's the truth. Here's Trump's tweet. Sloppy J.B. Pritzker.
Mm-hmm.
Sloppy J.B. Pritzker, the rotund governor from the once great state of Illinois, who makes Chris Christie look like a male model and whose family wanted him out of the business because he was so pathetic at helping them run it, has presided over the destruction and disintegration of Illinois at levels never seen before in any state. State is capitalized. Crime is rampant and people are sadly fleeing Illinois. Unless a change is made at the governor's level, Illinois can never be great again! Exclamation point.
Huh.
So there you go. Sloppy JB Pritzker. All right, ready for the chat?
God, it doesn't have the ring of panicking. Do you want to talk about Austin Metcalf?
Well, it's not
and
called
Carmella?
Sloppy this episode? Do you want to know what it's called?
I don't know what it's called.
Drink your coffee, Snaggles, okay?
Did you want to talk about Austin Metcalf and Carmelo Anthony at all?
Do you have the gas for it? Because you were on a racist tear earlier today.
I was not on a racist tear.
If
I was
you-
not
if you
on a
wanna-
racist tear. I'm just shocked by some of the discourse that I have seen. I thought that it was like that most people were against high school students stabbing each other.
Mm-hmm. No.
But some people apparently are for it as long as the races are right in the right order.
Yes.
Which is fascinating. And like, I'm not big into, like my race, my team, whatever. Like, I'm not trying to be like that. But there are a whole bunch of people who seem very interested in which team gets to kill which other team more.
Ooh.
And I don't think that that's like healthy for America at all. That's like the attitude is that we have race teams and like it's about cheering on when one person from your team kills somebody from the other team. Like, I don't think that that's a good thing for the country, frankly.
Yep.
But there are a whole bunch of people who are like cheering this on and think it's great. And I just sent you a couple of clips of a few of the influencers who've been talking about this. That like I mean, I don't know what's going to happen, but it seems to me that it's the rhetoric, let's say, is ramping up. And it's interesting to me in light of like the George Floyd thing and all those protests and whatever. And because if you actually look at the statistics, and I know that that's like a bad word when it comes to race relations, you're not allowed to do that. But if we start to keep score about which races kill which other races more, then like I just don't think
This is the
anybody's gonna
forbidden
like
thing.
it.
Matt Walsh talked about this last
I
week.
just think nobody's gonna like it if we start to keep score like that. I don't think that would be a healthy thing for America, and I think we should not look at crimes that way.
Well,
And I think that the determination that people seem to have to look at it that way, including the people who are the race of the perpetrator, who are like, as far as I'm concerned, like, you can have two ways to look at it. I'm not really interested in being like, oh my God, this race is victimizing me and my race. Like, I think that that's like not a healthy way to go. I know that some people have been doing that now for years, but this is a new thing for me where it's like, oh, good. Yeah, he had it coming. That's great. Black high school students should be allowed to stab white high school students. Like, this is a positive. Like, that's a new one on me.
I blame Austin motherfucking parents for not teaching him not to bully and mistreat people just because they skin color. Okay? We wouldn't even be having this conversation if y'all didn't push that white privilege shit on your son. And you clearly see that they've been bothering that boy for him to be walking around with a pocket knife. They had to been bullying him, and he was tired of that shit. People get tired of being bullied. You think kids just walk around with pocket knives for nothing? No, he was tired of Austin and fucking with him.
Yeah, all right. I'll have to spend a few minutes bleeping that. Let's go to the next one.
Y'all not gonna make me believe or feel any kind of sympathy for Austin Metcalf at all. He put his hands on that young man when he should have kept them hands to himself. When the young man told him, touch me and see, you better not touch me, that meant that I don't want you in my space. I don't want you touching me. Rosa Parks days is over. You cannot think that you can move somebody out of a seat that you don't own and think that it's going to be okay. And you can't determine how I'm going to retaliate on you when you put your hands on me in an aggressive manner. Austin Metcalf got exactly what he deserved.
Ooh.
Point blank, period. It's time out for feeling sorry for somebody's feelings or feeling emotional about somebody's feelings. Austin Metcalf should have kept his damn hands to himself.
There you go. So I want to bail out my friends in the capital B Black community, Alice, from your vicious racist attacks.
I'm not doing anything racist.
White people are doing the same thing by feting Luigi for killing the healthcare guy. for thinking it's great.
I also think that's bad for America.
I think it's great that they think, white college students everywhere are ripping off pictures of kidnapped Israeli children. In this country, we think it's okay. We're ghoulish murderers. We've been told that that's fine now to think like that, and so that's the. It also, the media is complicit again. And you notice a lot of these people are saying it's Kyle Rittenhouse. It's like, I don't know if they've noticed at all, but the media has allowed this veneer of the Kyle Rittenhouse story being that he went into Kenosha to murder a whole bunch of black people, and he was finally almost stopped from doing that when he shot some BLM protesters, and they've never looked any further than that, which is not what happened. Then he didn't shoot black people, and it's like, this is...
No, I know a whole bunch of people who think that Kyle Rittenhouse is doing like the Charleston church shooting?
Yes.
Like that he was like a white supremacist who set out to murder black people or something. There's a whole bunch of people who think that he wasn't being rushed by a violent mob that knocked him down and was attacking him. And literally, one of the dudes he shot was pointing a gun at him at the time. I mean, but whatever. People choose to not know anything, and there's loads of misinformation floating around here. I read the whole police report of this Carmelo Anthony thing. I mean, he is guilty as F, as they say. I mean, like, he said when the cops showed up, he was like, oh, yeah, I stabbed him. Does this count as self-defense? Like, he was like...
I heard Jason Whitlock say that the kid wasn't a thug. It was Whitlock saying that, not me.
I don't know who's the thug. He'd been in trouble in school before for bringing a knife to school.
Okay.
Like, I mean, I don't know. So...
It seems to me he wasn't too many steps ever from stabbing somebody, and he got his chance. And
I mean, I just don't... I don't think any kids should have knives at high school and be ready to stab anybody.
Right.
Like that's just how it goes. And I don't care at some point, like, who's being bullied or who was mean or who smashed whose phone. Like, it's a gruesome story. The play-by-play is just awful. The play-by-play is terrible. I mean, but his family's raised over $200,000 on fundraising platforms. I haven't seen what the victim's family's raised. I'm not sure how much it is, but
amazing.
It's astonishing to me that there are people who are so, like, as far as I've heard, this kid has not expressed any, like, remorse about this. He said that he thinks it's self-defense. But I haven't heard any, like, oh my God, I, like, really screwed up and I, like, ruined this for this family. I've heard his family kind of said something along those lines. Like, his dad said something, like, sort of. He was like, oh, this is just tragic for all the families or something.
Yeah,
like, but
yeah. That's how his dad is processing it, whatever.
The bare, like, minimum, I don't know. But it's an ugly situation, and I don't think the situation is helped by people making interracial killing a team sport. Right. I just don't think that that's a positive. I mean,
yes.
And to an extent, like...
And by the way, there's a bigger, more forbidden conversation that this leads to. That is not one that most people can do. I can tell you who can do it is John McWhorter and what's the podcast I listen to? Glenn Lowry. Mm-hmm. Those two have this conversation. And it's not one that most white people can have or can feel safe having.
All right. Jason Whitlock has done a lot of good discussion of this too. I mean, I think though it's an interesting and important conversation because the very same people on the left who seem intent on bringing race into every single thing and every interaction don't seem to understand the ramifications of doing that. Mm-hmm. And like we've discussed that, how the racists on like the very far right, like the Nick Fuenteses of the world, right? Mm-hmm. And the racists on the far left, who are these, you know, critical race theory people, share much in common in that they see most of society as a team sport where the teams are your race, right? Like, oh, Jewish people are getting ahead white people are getting, they must be getting one over on me somehow. Look at that other race over there. They're doing better than me. As though, like, it does me no good if, like, some rich white person is rich over there and I'm not. Like, but I guess for some people, they feel better about it knowing that like, their team is one-upping some other team. But like I say, because of this forbidden conversation that one's not allowed to have, that, you know, people, the white supremacists on the far right have been having for a long time, the critical race theorists are ushering in that conversation. And I don't see how they don't see what they're doing. Because it seems to me that if you're going to push this George Floyd narrative and start saying, like, oh, white people are just gunning down black people in the street. Oh, look at, there's all these hate crimes against Asians. Oh, look at the, like, if you start dividing up crimes by race, I don't think you're going to like what a lot of people notice when you start dividing up the crimes by race.
Yeah,
if you are a critical race activist and you start demanding that white people notice when black people are unjustly killed, especially when it's a cross-race killing of a black person.
Of a white person.
Well, no, what I'm saying is, like, the critical race theorists on the left have been asking everyone to notice.
Right.
Whenever a black person gets unfairly killed by a white person. I don't think if you are a person who cares about race relations in America that you should want to go down the road of starting to tally up who murders who more by race. I do not think that is a productive or a useful conversation to take America into any kind of a future where races can get along.
I agree, although at the same time, it is absolutely provable that it is cultural and not genetic. That's what I'm saying.
I mean,
that's what I'm saying, at least.
I don't know that we know that with any degree of certainty.
Really?
I don't know. I don't think that. I mean, I don't think that it matters to some extent. Like, I don't think it matters. I think I don't think that that's a useful and productive way to talk about crime statistics. I don't think, like, we live in a country together. You know what I mean? Like, we need to have an enforceable social norm where it's not okay to stab people at high school track meets because you have beef over, like, what high school's tent you're in. Right? Like, that has to be an enforceable social norm regardless of race. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Sure, although I don't.
Like, we cannot have a society where we live together, black people and white people together, which is, I think, what the goal should be here. Like, we can't have a society where that's possible if everybody thinks it's okay for my team to murder the other team.
So this goes back to what Matt Walsh was saying when this first happened, saying if somebody told you that was a white guy and a black guy, and one person stabbed the other person in the neck, that you wouldn't think it was a black guy who did it. But at the same time, we wouldn't think that if somebody says there was just a school shooting where some dudes in trench coats just blew away 30 classmates, I think that's the whites. Now it's a certain kind of... These days, it's a certain kind of white person who seems to be doing a lot of the shootings like that.
Well, I mean, I could get into what the hardcore racists on the internet would tell you about that specifically.
That's also not genetic, I don't think. I think that's cultural.
Well, I'll tell you, and I'm not endorsing this point of view, but I would tell you that what the online internet racist position on that is that when white people have mass shootings, they're more effective. That there are many, many more non-lethal shootings involving black perpetrators and victims, but that higher body counts are white shooters. And that the Virginia Tech shooter, who was an Asian, had one of the highest body counts of any mass shooter ever.
Handguns, too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but that's not. But why are we doing efficacy? That's not. We're counting like certain crimes are falling to certain people.
Okay, but if you
driving with your boys, through the hood, going at the people who are on your crosstown rival, and emptying 15-year-old dudes hanging out of a car with 9mm, emptying the guns. Yeah, they're not going to be very accurate. God knows who's going to get where those things are going. But
yeah,
sure. But it's,
so on average, that's the mass shootings that involve deaths tend to not be black shooters.
Sure. Okay, well, then that's damning for the whites. That's point for Slytherin.
Well, no, but the online racists would say that's just because whites are better at it when they decide to do it.
Okay, that's an odd brag, but
I'm not like endorsing it, like I said, but I'm just saying, like, I read a lot of stuff and I see what people say, and I don't endorse. But
so that's a win for the whites. Good at mass shootings.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Is like they feel that the Virginia Tech shooter was an Asian, and I've literally seen people say, like, God forbid we ever have a Jewish mass shooter.
You know what? Another
like that's what people say. I'm just saying that's what the online thing is about it.
I understand,
that's the meme.
Mrs. Fuentes. I get it. But you know another problem that skews this whole thing is that interest groups and progressives, anti-gun people, have skewed the definitions of mass shootings.
Right.
And school shootings, as a matter of fact.
Mm-hmm.
So now that nobody can know anything at all, and the stuff we do know we can't say because you can't say things because you're not allowed to say, because we've decided now that this is the great time of reckoning, and nobody can be at fault for anything.
Right.
Whatsoever. Oh, you're allowed to still make fun of whites, which, by the way, I am all for. I have no problem making fun of whites. I think the Irish are still fair game. My people are still fair game. Italians are still fair game. The Germans are still fair game, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Other than that, I think that there's not one other group that everybody's allowed to make fun of.
Yeah, I mean,
maybe Russians, but we don't have enough Russian influence here now to know how to make fun of them, really.
Right, most people don't hang around with a lot of Russians. So
no, I do know a woman who dated a Russian one time, a long time ago.
But
arms dealer. So you. So
yeah, I mean, I guess my takeaway from the whole thing is, like, I've never seen people so eager to turn something into a freaking race war for no apparent reason.
Which is why, by the way,
like, it just seems like a terrible freaking senseless thing. And, like, somehow there's people who are like, yeah, but the murderer's on my race team, so, like, we're all for him. Quick, raise money for him. Like, what the F?
I also think that it is. I don't think the majority of young Black Americans agree with these idiots that we just played. I don't think so.
I mean, enough people to raise $200,000 for the family.
Well, I get that. Those are the people at the Hands Off rally who are doing that too, because it's in to murder people. I also think that any young man who's Black or white or whoever is a Trump voter is not siding with the dude.
I don't know anymore. I don't know. It's weird to me. I don't understand people acting like this.
This is why, by the way, guys, it's important to hang around in the show, because we could have just did the chat, which is I was about to play the first message. Instead, we just decided to do the most cancelable, controversial 20 minutes of the show we've ever done, led by racist Alice Fuentes.
I'm not.
Hitler, Shattuck.
I'm against racism. That's my whole point of my thing.
Distancing myself, just like Jack Black did with Tenacious D.
I'm against racism. I don't think you should cheer for murderers just because they're your race.
Colleen would grab that so quickly. Oh. Wouldn't it be an honor if you were important enough to well, actually, no, not necessarily. You are the job. You can't have you canceled for that. For this, Imagine I get enough pressure
To kick me off this show?
from like Acast that says, we have ads here. We're not doing, if you have, yeah. Oh, I'd be like, it'd be like when Roseanne got kicked out for Roseanne. Anyway, you look lovely, and I love you in a turtleneck and your snaggle teeth, and even with the racism.
I'm not racist.
You're lovely.
I'm against racism.
Mhm.
That was the whole point of everything I just said.
Mm-hmm.
Is that I don't think people should like murder because of the races of the people involved. Is that a racist thing to say?
I don't know. You look good.
I don't think people should be pro-murder.
Okay. You ready?
I'm ready.
Man, that coffee saved the day. This is huge. We have a comeback from somebody who revolutionized the chat earlier this year or late last year.
Hey guys, Jennifer from
Hey, Jennifer.
Lawrence here.
Hey.
So much to say.
Yeah, no kidding.
First of all, I want you to know that I listen to every podcast.
Good.
And I think you guys are the best.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You guys have the secret sauce, Tom and Alice.
Thank you.
In my opinion, of a boomer playing on the back nine, as Tom would say, your podcast is the best.
Thank you, Jennifer. I don't know that I actually do say that whatsoever. I don't know that I say that. But, Jennifer, if you'd like to, you have 10 minutes, if it sounds like that.
You've got the synergy and all that.
There we go.
I haven't called for a while because I do get intimidated by
What?
all of the smart people that call. But anyway, I'm so happy. I guess the feds are allowing Trump to continue deporting, which is wonderful.
Yes.
Send them all back.
Here we go.
But I just wanted to let you know that there are lots of people out here that listen to you guys. We think you're wonderful. Keep up the good work. Alice, I love your laugh. And Tom, you are just irreplaceable.
Oh.
Yeah.
True.
Okay. Thank you so much. And if you take some time off, good for you. You guys need it. Okay. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you, Jennifer.
Thank you very much. I would take an attribute that you love over irreplaceable. I mean, that
You
could,
aren't replaceable. That's
technically,
true.
yeah. I can't be replaced. Could I be easily upgraded? Yes, absolutely. Thank you, Jennifer. Yes, you were missed. You were the talk of the Inauguration Day show. The talk. You.
Everyone loves Jennifer.
Yes. Oh, well, the chat thing. I mean, how do you? My goodness. Hanging out, drinking a scotch, looking to hook up.
Do you guys feel like the Democratic left-wing media is putting up a smokescreen with what is going on in the stock market and tariffs as a way to take people's attention away from Joe Biden and what was going on under his administration and all the shenanigans that was going on? Because it seems to me like that is way bigger of a story and more important and more relevant than a couple of bad days in the stock market. And I feel like it's the usual Democrat play where they want you to get mad about something else so that you don't get mad at what really is something to be pissed off about, which is the Biden crime family.
Yeah, in the whole Biden thing was, they're trying to do their own little reckoning because they're all trying to, it's a tough thing because they don't want to indict themselves. The media doesn't want to indict themselves, and the Democrats don't want to indict themselves because they were all complicit in the Biden scandal.
Mm-hmm.
At the same time, you've got these people in media who took the time to write books, and they want to sell them, so they want to get some sizable conflagration going. So, but at the same time, it's so damning for them.
Yeah, I mean, I think Trump's keeping them pretty busy, too, just on his own with all the stuff he's doing, too. Like,
Oh, no, I know that, but they also have books to sell.
No, I know, but I just mean, like, like Biden's out of office now. I mean, I don't think that with Trump in office, the focus was ever going to necessarily be on Biden. Not that stuff's not important.
I know he's out of office, Alice, but all of the actors are still around.
No, I know. I just, like, I don't think they were always going to. Trump needs to move fast. We knew this, right? Because he only has, like, at most 2 years. And so he's moving at, like, a breakneck pace, getting things done, deporting people. Like, the media, I would honestly, like, he can go after the Biden crime family in the second half of his term if he wants to or whatever. But, like, I think he's using the time effectively, and I think the media was always going to be running around with, like, chickens with their head cut off over this.
Can I ask you a question?
Mm-hmm.
You know that, you and I went shopping at the outlets in Maine like a month ago. Got a whole bunch of stuff. I brought a whole bunch of stuff to you. You almost always completely ignore me on fashion and beauty.
Yeah.
When it comes to you. Like, you don't even have time. You just don't think I know what I'm talking about, and you dismiss me like, yeah, no, I'm not doing, no.
Okay.
Like, you don't ever. And as a matter of fact, when we first started dating, it was the same thing. When you were in the mirror putting stuff on, you just dismiss it out of hand. So when I was handing you most clothes, there was one you said, "Oh, actually, I do like that piece of clothes I handed you." You wanted me to be involved, but you dismissed almost everything I said. Is there anything you do that is because I like it? Or is it just all that you have to like it?
I just have to like it.
Nothing at all.
I do stuff because I like it.
Okay.
Why?
I'm not offended. I'm just, like, because you're oddly cold when it comes to fashion and beauty. You have so little faith. I can feel it that this person has no faith at all. Well, I shouldn't be even speaking here because, like, she's not going to consider it. She's not going to have a conversation about it. She doesn't. She thinks that she knows everything about it. She thinks that I know nothing about it.
Okay. My tiredness is coming back.
I was just asking. Okay, sorry.
I know, but if you want me to be here for the rest of the chat, then I need
just one more message.
Okay.
By the way, I kind of like that about you too. That's another good thing I like.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Hi, Steve from Merrimack.
Hey, Steve.
Tom, I remember when I was a kid, when Johnny Carson would go on vacation.
Yes.
NBC would play the best of Carson. Are you kidding me here? The WTIC isn't ready to rock with the best of Shattuck for 3 hours a day? Come on, man. We could go 24 hours. 24 hours of you, Tom.
Ooh.
What a delight it would be. Thank you.
I mean, if you cut them up 1 hour shows and sent them to them, they might play that.
I don't think so. They didn't ask for that. I could certainly do that. Or I used to do it for the Michael Graham show. But no, it'll be a syndication live. I believe that's what it'll be. Could be something different, but I think that's what it'll be. They've stopped bringing in the guy who knows a lot about stuff, who's very, like, sober and competent, because they think that that I've so idiocracied the listeners now that they don't want a thinker.
Thank you so much for listening, everybody. Thank you for the messages.
Hey, thanks for staying up, by the way, with us. And thanks for drinking the coffee, and thanks for your snaggles, and thanks for being so pretty and lovely and doing a great job and working so hard as a great wife. Thank you so much. You're the illest chick I've ever known. I don't know what does that. So, is it messages? Do you really want me to find out?
No, I want to finish the show. Can you play the music again?
Okay.
Thank you so much for listening. Thank you for the chat messages and for being in the live chat. If you would like to join us in the live chat, you can do that at Patreon, patreon.com/burnbarrel. If you like listening for free, which is also nice, you can do that at burnbarrelpodcast.com. There's links to all different places to listen. You can watch the show on YouTube or Rumble. You can listen on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you like to listen to podcasts.
Mind your own damn business.